Hello, welcome to the bar. This is Neil Howe with Business Authority Radio. I'm here together with Craig Williams, who happens to be in his kitchen making his lunch right now. So the good thing about this is it's just a conversation. We're talking about business, and we can do that at any time, even at lunchtime. So, just I want to talk about something that's really been on my mind that I think makes the biggest difference in business, and that is the word desire. Desire, if you look it up in the dictionary, it can be from wanting something to, wanting something really bad. There's different levels of desire. And if you go to one of the most popular business books of all time, which is Think and Grow Rich from Napoleon Hill, his very first chapter is on desire, and he talks about having a burning, white-hot desire in order to be successful and get your business and your goals to the level that you want. So, desire is one of those things that if you don't have, you're probably not going to be successful. But it does have different implications in the time that we are in right now, with the government handing out money to people in the population it definitely helps them pay their bills and all that. But the longer you keep handing out money, the lower the desire goes for actually getting back to work and making money for yourself. Craig, well, first of all, what's for lunch? And then second,
I'm sauteing some mushrooms and some pesto, and I might add an egg since it's kind of like brunch actually, since I didn't been so productive this morning. But we'll figure it out as it goes. That's a good subject, Neil. Desire. There are levels of desire, and we've had this conversation before in the past, and desire is that I think desire is that point where you're about to fulfill that pursuit. The more our desires are brought to the forefront, the more we're putting more action to it. I mean, even when you talk about the checks, if you're being paid for not doing something, then you can fall back on your laurels and not build up more desire to do more and be productive. So I could see how for some people that is counterintuitive or counterproductive, so to speak. But desire is very important to how you experience life. I mean, I think desires are based upon what you value and what your standards are. I mean, I think that desires are, and if people have low standards, then their desire is low. And if they're hampered by being enabled, whether it's getting that hand up or hand down or whatever you want to call this monetary infusion. And it's based on people who have worked. I mean, if you don't have a tax return, that means you haven't worked legally anyway. So you're not up for that infusion. But yeah, desire is something that you must consider in productivity in times like this, and as far as getting things done. And that's a good point to bring up. That desire is what visions are built on, and are built literally.
Yeah, I mean, America is a capitalist country, and it was built on the desire of people to get ahead, to work, and really, to use Trump's slogan, is to make America great. That was the desire that people have. I look at, the way some conversations are going, and we're looking more to socialist, making sure everybody has that universal basic income. It's been tried in other countries. Norway, I know for a fact, tried it. They did a test for a few years and found that the unemployment level just, stayed the same. It didn't get any better at all. because people were just sitting at home, you know, receiving money, and they didn't have that desire to get out and work, which is what makes America great. Also, Italy, if you look at the unemployment level for people, you know, from working age up to 35, I think, to 40, it is about 40% unemployment, because they have that socialist culture, and they have the universal basic income for them as well. So, you know, if you're sitting at home getting checks, you know, there's no incentive to actually go out and innovate. And of course, that's, you know, what we want to talk about on this program is, you know, that healthy entrepreneurship. If you're getting a check, it doesn't give you the motivation to go out there and make things happen. And, you know, without action, you know, we need the people to be active and create things in order to get us out of the situation that we're in. I don't think, you know, handing checks out to people is going to be any kind of long-term solution.
Well, I'll tell you this. I mean, the checks are not being handed out to most of our audience, or us in essence, because, you know, the checks are for employees, and most employees aren't the entrepreneurs, you know. So I think that conversation is somewhat skewed as far as what we tend to deal with. The desire for entrepreneurs and business owners has to be heightened, because they do have employees. So our desires need to be stoked, and we need to encourage and inspire one another in that desire, remind each other of those desires that helped us build these businesses that employ other people, because employees are just going to be employees. They're still going to be a part, and they're just as important. It's not bring value to employees. Most of those people aren't the people who are being the innovative and creative ones. And I think that's what desire does. It helps speed up that process of creativity. And now we have a greater need of creativity and innovation, and that desire feeds into that. So I think that's the line of really what we're talking about. Not to get political, or, you know, what, you know, as far as socialism and all that kind of stuff, because most of those are not built on foundation of entrepreneurs. You know, most of those systems aren't built on, you know, giving power to the people to create their own destiny, you know, when it comes to building wealth and creating funds in that manner. And of course, the history of this country is a bit jaded too, as far as a lot of those desires of how we built this country weren't on desirable means for the bulk of people who were working. So that's a whole nother podcast, and we'll not touch on that one right now. But yeah, but I see that. I mean, you hit it right on the nose. Desire for entrepreneurs and business owners, I think, is just like character. In the midst of chaos and crisis, that's where your character is revealed. I think this time that we're in right now is a great breeding ground for those desires. I mean, for you not to sit on them, you know, sit on a desire is a big asset, you know, and we don't need to be sitting on our assets at this time. Yeah.
No, that's true. You know, this disruption to, you know, business as usual, you know, has caused some people to kind of sit on the sidelines a little bit and wait to see what happens. But, you know, those kinds of distractions can really derail you, take you off the path that you're going on to reach those goals. So, you know, there's other distractions as well. You know, people sitting on social media all day, watching the news and being fear-filled. You know, those kinds of distractions are really going to paralyze you and stop you from moving forward. You know, without that forward motion, nothing's going to get done. So, you know, being distracted as well is really going to hamper you reaching your goals. And of course, just the consistency. And another thing, you know, that we need to have a show about, because this is really the number one skill for anybody to learn, is just a habit. You know, a habit of doing the right thing every single day. because people do get disheartened if their desires don't come to fulfillment. So you need to get that habit to where it's second nature, so that you're doing the right things every single day. We need to talk about that word habit, because that's the most important thing. But I have a desire for the country to get back on its feet again, get back open for business. I know we're talking about opening things back up right now. We'll wait to see what happens with that. What's your view on that, Craig? Is it too early, do you think, to open back up for business, or do we need to get back into it right away?
You talked about us being a capitalistic society, and once again, that concept is, how old is that concept? And I mean, you have to consider a number of other things. It is intriguing to have certain businesses being open right now, but everything else is not business as usual. So you kind of get into it. I mean, I see that the governor is opening up. He's wanting to open up certain businesses, but yet and still the governor's mansion is not open to be visited. So I mean, I like consistency. I mean, I would like consistency. Also, the health of the people is important. I still think it goes back to more of our audience. Our audience, we haven't stopped working. You and I haven't stopped working, and we're in a place where, I mean, this is how this country was built, on the backs of entrepreneurs and others, of course. But it's the entrepreneurs that, the business owners, that need to stoke their desires, because the desires is what's going to get us past these circumstances. It's desires that help us look past this state or this season. I mean, there's never just one season, just like there are 50 states. You can pass through them, and we have to look at it from that point, and that's why our desires need to be heightened. So in regards of whether we're going back to sooner, I mean, the kids are going to be safe, it looks like, because we're not opening schools back up, and that's very important. As far as the decisions that are made by city government, whenever there's division, there is no strength. So if the city's not agreed with the state, and the state's not agreed with the city, and the country's not doing, I mean, who knows what's right? But I mean, I would kind of consider what are most people doing right now, and just because we don't have the same level of impact of lives that have been touched by the disease or deaths, I don't know if that's the only way that we kind of decide whether different sectors are to be going back. I think safety is most important, because you can have all the opportunity in the world if you're not here to experience it. What good is the opportunity?
Exactly.
So
Exactly.
I mean, I see both sides of why there is an urgency, but as far as what I think about it, I've prepared myself. I've been in a preventive maintenance as far as my health, my mental health as well, my spiritual health, before COVID. And that's why, character is very important. You talked about habits. I mean, it's very important to maintain habits that help you sustain no matter the circumstance. And to be a strong business owner or entrepreneur, or if you're building something that's going to last, you have to be principle centered in how you do that, because principles were here before we got here. They're going to be here after. So you have to have a higher standard than what you see on TV a lot of times, what you even see your neighbor. You have to really kind of decide what's most important to you. And for me, that's why, yes, there are some things that have changed in my life. Yes, I am practicing social distancing and meeting people where they are with that. And I'm not the standard of what that is. I'm just only the standard for myself and the peace and the safety of myself. So, but it's very important for us to consider others when we are, and when we do have the responsibility of others in our hands. So, I mean, like I said, I don't know if that answers your question on how I feel about, you know, what state we're in. I just want to make sure I'm doing what I need to do to stay safe and show up again. That was something I learned, you know, in the fire department.
Yeah, I think what you said, you know, with division, there's no strength. And, you know, I see a lot of division from both sides. And like you, I can see both sides of the argument and can appreciate both sides. However, you know, we are talking about desire today, and I think it is the desire of entrepreneurs that really put this country to work, whether it's small business owners, or entrepreneurs that have ideas that need to employ people. You know, it's very important that even now in a downtime, if you are an employee and you want that entrepreneurial mindset and skills, you know, we want to work on those things, the skills, the knowledge. This is a great time to work on them. And then, of course, you know, we're all concerned about our health right now. But without health, like you said, we don't have the opportunity to create things. Anyway, that's our discussion for today. If you want to join the discussion, reach out to us. You can see more of these interviews at businessauthorityradio.com, or you can reach out to us on Facebook at facebook.com/Business Authority Radio. Thanks a lot, Craig. Go and enjoy your brunch, and we'll see you next time.
Most definitely.